Mode 1.
So I'm still receiving feedback from my last 2 to 3 videos. Still receiving a lot of feedback. Yeah, I'm still receiving feedback on the video I did where I distinguish the term player from the term fuckboy. Still receiving feedback from the video I did about the Boris Kojo, Nicole Ari Parker situation, as well as my very brief. Now, see, here's the thing. I got to point this out. I pointed this out before. And this proves that the criticism about length is bullshit. It's total bullshit. Because you remember, okay, yeah. You remember, see, I got to bring up his name again. I said I wasn't going to try not to bring up his name, but I just got to bring up his name. FTC, which is his real initials, a.k.a. AMS. When he first started rising to popularity, around mid to late December of 2017 and January and February of 2018, one of his top criticisms of me, as well as a lot of his followers, not only just exclusively him, but a lot of his followers, they used to come on my channel and say, man, Alan, your videos are too long. Your videos are too long. If you would be, basically, they would imply that you would have more YouTube subscribers, Patreon subscribers, and just generally be more successful if your videos were shorter. Yeah, because that's what FTC, aka AMS, I remember he had written in my comment section in the latter part of 2017, he basically said, Alan, ARC, your video should never be longer than roughly 20 minutes. Your video should never be longer than roughly 20 minutes. You would get more views. This is what he asserted. He said you would get more views on each of your videos. You would get more YouTube subscribers. And I want to say he said you would ultimately get more Patreon subscribers. I've proved before that's BS, and I'm quickly prove it again. Look at my last video I did on, was it Friday? Yeah, Friday. Yeah, I did a video on Friday about Ramil Amir admitting that indirect pump and dump game a lot of times causes you to waste a lot of time and money. That video was just under 24 minutes long. Just under 24 minutes. Actually, I'm looking at this specifically, it was 23 minutes and 46 seconds. So again, just under 24 minutes long. I have 2.2 thousand views for that video. 2,000, roughly 2,200 video. Let me turn on. Let me see. Specific number. Okay, I got, as of right now, as I'm looking at it, I got 2,292 views on that video. $2,000. Now, let's compare that with some videos that are much longer, since the assertion is the shorter your videos are, the more views you're going to get, the more YouTube subscribers you're going to get, and inevitably the more Patreon subscribers you're going to get. I got some videos that I've done in the last 2 to 3 weeks. Okay. All right, like my Boris Kojo video. That video is just under 48 minutes long. It has 11,316 views. As of right now, it has 11,316 views. And it has 221 comments and reply comments. I mean, come on, man. Let me list a couple others, because there's a couple others. Okay, here's another one. My third from last video, which was about players and fuckboys. That video was 59 minutes and 11 seconds long. It was just under an hour long, but that video has 11,358 views. And let me see if I can get one more. Okay, my most viewed video in the last, say, 2, 3, 4 weeks, just from looking at my videos, was the video where I called out FTC, aka MS. Where, well, I exposed that he got called out by some women on a New York City blog site. That video is 46 minutes and 7 seconds long, has 15,444 views, and 331 comments and reply comments. So, without getting too lengthy and digressing on this too much, what's my main point? And again, I've said this before, but I'm just reiterating again, man. The length of your videos is not what determines the number of views you get and the number of YouTube subscribers you have. That's bullshit. It's totally irrelevant. Again, I have videos that are 25 minutes or less that have less than 5,000 views. And I have videos that are 40 minutes or longer that have over 20,000 views. So, yeah, I mean, I haven't really heard that criticism, to be truthful, in recent weeks or months. But I was getting that criticism a lot in 2018. I was probably the number one time I got that criticism a lot was 2018. A lot of people, and again, it was mainly guys who were fans and followers and supporters of FTC, aka MS. They would come on my channel and say, man, your video's too long, man. And that's why you don't have as many views as FTC, aka MS. That's why you don't have as many views as him. It's the quality of the content. It ain't the length of the content. It's the quality of the content. Anyway, I just had to point that out because I'm tired of people saying that. But yeah, my very last video, man, it was short. That was one of my shortest videos ever. Again, it was like just under 24 minutes long, but it don't even have like 2,500 views. It don't even have 2,500 views. So there you go. But anyway, speaking of my very last, I'll start with feedback from my very last video. A few guys wrote me, not many, but a few guys wrote me, and as far as ones who tried to challenge what I said, a lot of guys wrote me basically with attitude like ARC, so what? So what if Ramil Amir highlighted some detriments of indirect game? It still don't change the fact that you can get women in bed being indirect. You can get women in bed being indirect. Number one, and I've said this probably like 500,000 times. I got to turn on notifications. I'm sorry. Hold on. I've said just literally hundreds of times, I've never said that you can't get laid being indirect. So that's number one. I've never said that. Some people try to almost act like I've said that you can't get laid being indirect. I've never said you can't get laid being indirect. I know from my own experiences that you can get laid being indirect. So that's point number one. I've never said that a man cannot get laid being indirect. But what I've always said, and again, this is what I like that Ramil Amir brought up and emphasized, is that my number one argument against indirect is not that you can't get laid being indirect, but it's two things. Number one, my argument has always been, when you use indirect game and you say you do get laid, it's going to cost you more time and money than using direct approach. It's going to cost you more time and money. And Ramil Amir pointed that out. And that's why I did my very last video. Because again, I would say no less than 90% of guys who promote indirect game, they rarely, if ever, point that out. Like, since I brought him up, FTC AKMS. I've never heard him emphasize that. Like, he promotes indirect game. But I've never heard him say that if you use indirect game, you're going to have to invest a lot of time and money compared to direct game. He's never said that. I've never heard him say that. And most guys who are indirect, they never say that. They never point out that major flaw. So that's number one, is that yes, you can, on the positive end, you can get laid being indirect, using indirect verbal game, as it's called. But 99% of the time, you're going to invest more time and you're going to invest more money than you would have using direct game. You're going, yeah. Again, that's, if I had to quickly, I'm not going to go into all the detailed story, but this points back to that, well, actually two stories. One was a guy who was my Patreon subscriber, and then he left me for about 3, 4, maybe it's even as long as 5 months, and then he came back to me because he was having some doubts about direct versus indirect game. And that was one of the things he said when he came back as a Patreon subscriber. He tried indirect game, he went back to using indirect game, and he said he got laid with, I think, like 2 or 3 women using indirect game, but he said it took him a lot more time, and it required a lot more money compared to when he used Mode 1 with women. Another story it reminds me of is, this story is kind of too long. I don't want to retell it again. But there was a guy, I can't remember, I always forget what country he's from. I want to say the Netherlands or Sweden or Switzerland. One of those three. It was either Switzerland, Sweden, or the Netherlands. It was a story I've told a few times on my YouTube videos where this guy, he had a roommate, or what he called a loftmate. Well, that's what a lot of Europeans call roommates. They call them loftmates. He had a loftmate where his loftmate and one of his loftmate's friends went to this club and pulled these 2 women, and they spent all this time talking to these women, like somewhere between 2 to 3 hours talking to these 2 women, didn't get no pussy. But the guy who told me the story, he wasn't involved in all these lengthy small talk. He just told one of the chicks when she was looking for the bathroom, he said, hey, you should come to my room. And she said, why should I come to your room? He said, so I can fuck you silly. I think he said, so I can bang you silly. And at first she gave him a real negative reaction and shit. Yeah, she had kind of like a negative and theatrical reaction. But without getting into the specific details of the story again, when it was all said and done, guess who ended up fucking that woman? The guy who told me the story. He spent a total of probably like 5 minutes talking to this woman. And he ended up getting the pussy. And his loft mate spent over 2 hours talking to this same woman, but didn't get no pussy. What does that show you? And see, that's the other thing. This brings me to my second argument against indirect game. So number one argument against indirect game is that, yes, you can get laid using indirect game, but it's going to require more time and money. And even worst case scenario is when you don't get laid, is when you invest a significant amount of time and a significant amount of money pursuing a woman for sex, but you don't end up getting laid. See, that again, that's one of the things that most indirect guys who promote indirect game, they never really talk about, or they only talk about it very sparingly. And see, that's what led me away from indirect game. That's why I didn't like indirect game, man, is because if I'm going to get rejected, I want to get rejected immediately. If number one, if my objective is short-term, non-monogamous, casual sex, and I'm in a conversation with a woman that ultimately is not going to give me any pussy, I want to find that shit out like in the first 5 to 10 minutes of my very first conversation with her. I don't want to go out on like 2 or 3 dates with a woman only for her not to give me no pussy. I don't want to spend 5 to 10 hours talking to a woman on the phone only for her not to give me no pussy. And see, Ramil, where I give him props, he talked about that. He said, you're going to have when you use indirect pump and dump game, he basically was like, you're going to have a lot of instances where there's going to be certain women that you're going to spend hours, days, weeks, months pursuing, and you never, ever going to get no pussy from them. When it's all said and done, you ain't going to never get no pussy from them. And he basically was like, you're going to feel upset about that. You're going to feel some kind of way about that. And I'm in total agreement with him, man. I'm in total agreement with him. So anyway, I had some guys give me some feedback in regards to that video. Some group of guys was like, you know, I don't see the big deal. No, Ramil Amir's confession of the detriments of indirect pump and dump game, I thought was admirable and worthy of respect. Because again, man, 9 out of every 10 guys who promote indirect game, they never give you the downside of it. They don't. They always give you the upside, but they don't give you the downside of it. Like, you, for example, direct verbal game. I've always done that. I give guys both the benefits of direct game, but I also regularly, or at minimum semi-regularly, will point out the potential drawbacks and detriments and disadvantages to direct game. Probably the single biggest drawback to direct game is that you'll get, as what conventional PUAs call, get blown out of the water a lot, meaning you'll be rejected in a very quick, straightforward, abrupt, and sometimes very harsh and even mean-spirited manner. I pointed out a number of times. I point that out in my books. So that's probably the single biggest detriment of direct game, is that when you get rejected, you'll get rejected quicker, more straightforwardly, and many times more harshly than you would if you use the indirect verbal game approach. But and then this other thing, I normally got this response in regards to my very last video, but I've gotten this response for the last few years. A lot of guys were sending me comments along the lines of, well, Alan, man, with all due, the classic, with all due respect to you. With all due respect to you, man, what you don't seem to realize, Alan, what you don't see, number one, I pointed this out before, man. For you guys who write me these notes like this, and I would say even particular emphasis on younger guys who are a minimum of 10 years younger than me or more, I'm going to just say this, man. I ain't going to raise my voice. I ain't going to curse at you. But I'm going to simply say this, man. Don't ever write me with an underlying attitude like you know more about women than I do. Seriously. Don't ever write me with an underlying attitude that you know more about women than I do. Because you don't. I'll put money on it. You know I'm a money betting motherfucker. You insult my intelligence when you do that shit. It ain't no young motherfucker on YouTube that got more insight on women than I do. I put that out there to any motherfucker on YouTube. I guarantee you don't. I guarantee you don't. I guarantee you don't. I guarantee you don't. There ain't no younger motherfucker on YouTube that know more about women than I do. None. Zero. None. And anyway, getting back to my point, yeah, I had a few guys write me. They said, man, Alan, with all due respect, I don't feel like you totally understand women, man. You even though you're a dating coach, I can tell you don't really thoroughly understand, because here's what you don't realize. Like, I notice you criticize men who lie to women a lot and mislead and manipulate women a lot, and, basically, use indirect game to get women in bed. But what you don't seem to realize is that deep down, most of these hoes, most of these women, they want to be lied to. They want to be misled and manipulated. That's what I don't think you realize, Alan. That a lot of these women, man, deep down, man, a lot of women don't want straightforward honesty, man. They want you to lie to them and basically bullshit them to get them in bed. That's what I had at least, in the last, I'd probably say 3 days plus, I had at least 4 guys, maybe 5, 4 or 5 guys that wrote me comments along those lines. Like, Alan, you don't seem to realize, man, a lot of women, when it all said and done, man, a lot of women, they don't mind a guy lying to them. They don't mind a guy misleading and manipulating them. Insert dog face here. Here's my response to that. You're half right. You're actually half right. You're half right and you're half wrong. You're half right and you're half wrong. For those guys who say that, Alan, there's a lot of women out here that when they deep down, even though they're never publicly admitted, there's a lot of women who want men to lie to them and or mislead and manipulate them. That's actually at least 50% true. But here's what y'all not saying and y'all not explaining. Here's the reality. No woman on this earth wants you to lie to them or mislead and manipulate them if the end result is going to be all to your benefit and all to their detriment. I would dare any man who thinks they know women to explain a woman who does that. It ain't no woman on this earth who wants a man to lie to them, wants a man to mislead and manipulate them in a manner that when it's all said and done is totally to the man's benefit and totally to their detriment. Now, no, only woman who would want that situation is a woman who's literally like mentally ill, psychotic, stupid, Ain't no woman of reasonable intelligence who's mentally healthy that want. Here's the only time a woman does. There are some instances. I would say at minimum 2 instances. I'm trying to think of more, but I can think of at least 2 instances. Here are at least 2 instances where women do actually want you to basically attempt to lie to them and bullshit them and not be forthright with your true sexual desires, interests, and intentions. One is related to when they don't want to have sex with you, and one is related to when they do. I'll start off when they don't. Here's a situation where a woman genuinely does, and if you read my book or listened to my audiobook, The Possibility of Sex, I basically explained this in that book. This first category, I explained this in my book, The Possibility of Sex. Here's one situation where a woman wants you to be dishonest / manipulative / just generally full of shit. Is when a woman wants to use you for your non-sexual time, attention, and companionship, and wants to use you for your financial resources and material possessions, and she knows that you want to fuck her. She knows that you want to fuck her, but she also knows that you don't have the confidence and courage to straightforwardly tell her that. She knows that you don't have the balls and backbone to straightforwardly. How does that benefit the woman? Because in simple terms, she can string you along indefinitely. She can string you along indefinitely. Why do you think so many motherfuckers get caught up in what's commonly known as a woman's friend zone? Why? Why do you think that happens? Like I was recently on somebody's live stream where I was talking about, I've told this story, but like when I used to work in LA, I used to work at a lot of the top movie studios, TV studios, and I used to work with women who basically would admit to me that they were manipulative time waster types. And they would basically tell me the easiest guy for them to manipulate was a guy that they knew wanted to date them, or if not date them in a relationship, wanted to have casual sex with them, but that guy did not have the confidence, courage, balls, and backbone to straightforwardly tell him that. So that's situation number one where, yes, a woman wants you to lie to him so they can string you the fuck along. You can't be strung along when you mow one. You can't be. It's virtually impossible. Real talk. It's literally impossible for a woman to be able to string you along when you're mow one. I don't know any man I know who regularly or at least even semi-regularly exhibit mow one behavior that has had a situation where a woman was able to string them along for a number of days, weeks, months, or years. It's impossible. It's literally impossible. You can't be strung along when you mow one. So yes, that's situation number one where I would say that women want men to be full of shit with them. Is a situation where they basically want you as a platonic friend, but they know deep down that you want them as either a girlfriend, long-term girlfriend, or at minimum a casual fuck buddy, but you don't have the confidence, courage, balls, backbone to straightforwardly tell them that. So what they're going to do, they're going to run circles around you. Highly manipulative women, if you're scared to let women know that you want to fuck them or you want to date them, they're going to run circles around your ass. So yes, that would be situation number one where I would say agree that a woman wants a man to lie to them and be full of shit with them. Is when they don't want to have sex with you, but they know you want to have sex with them, but they also know that you're scared to straightforwardly let them know you want to have sex with them. You put that woman in position, she's going to be able to string you along at minimum for X number of days, and then maximum for X number of years. I've seen guys get strung along like that, whether it was for days, weeks, months, or years, just simply because they was fun clubbing. They were fun clubbing. They were pretending like they were content with being a woman's purely platonic friend, but deep down they knew they wanted to date that woman or engage in episodes of casual sex with that woman, but they didn't have the balls to come out and say it. So they got played. They got strung the fuck along. So yeah, a woman don't mind you lying to them and bullshitting when it's to their benefit. I mean, duh. Of course a woman doesn't mind you lying to them and bullshitting them, being full of shit with them when it's to their benefit. Second major scenario where a woman will generally want a woman to lie to her, mislead and manipulate her, and generally be full of shit with her is when a woman does want to have sex with you, but she wants plausible deniability for casual sex. Plausible deniability. Come on, I've talked about this a number of times. That's what most women, if they're willing to engage in casual sex with you, the average woman, she wants plausible deniability. And again, I always never like to assume that everybody watching me knows what that is. I think 98% of the people watching me right now know what the concept of plausible deniability means. But for that 1 or 2% of guys who's not familiar with that term, what does it mean when a woman wants plausible deniability? In simple terms, that means if a woman engages in casual sex with you and say at maximum you decide to disparage her public image and social reputation after you guys stop having sex, or she just on her end has what's known as next day regret or next day guilt, post-sex guilt and regret, she wants something to blame why she chose to have sex with you on. For example, if you gave her alcohol, she could simply say, well, I didn't really want to have sex with Tyrone. He got me drunk. I couldn't think for myself. I didn't give him any consent with a sober state of mind. The only reason I had sex with him was because he got me drunk. Or if you told her some blatant lies, she could say, well, the only reason I had sex with Leon was because he told me he loved me. And I thought we were in a relationship. I would have never had casual sex with him. I would have never knowingly had casual sex with him. I only had sex with him because I thought we were in a relationship. Even though in reality, she might have known deep down that it was nothing more than casual sex. Women are always going to look for plausible deniability. And the main two situations they're going to look for plausible deniability, again, is if they have sex with you and they're assume that you were a mature, discreet, non-judgmental type dude, but you do that high school locker room kiss and tell, and you tell all your boys, yeah, man, Linda Johnson, yeah, I fucked that hoe. I fucked that slut. She ain't nothing but a slut. Once that word gets back to her, you're going to bring out a vindictive side of a woman. And as they say, hell hath no fury like a scorned woman. Me Too movement, anyone? Me Too movement, anyone? Oh, dude, trust me. And particularly in this day and age with the Me Too movement here, go to bed with a woman, disparage her name and reputation, and see don't she come after you guns blazing. See don't she seek to destroy your fucking life. See don't she seek to destroy your fucking life. Shit. You better wake up and recognize. Or the second thing, it might not be you disparaged her public image or social reputation. It might be just that she wakes up the next morning or 2 mornings later or 3 mornings later and just says, why did I do that? Why did I sleep with, JoJo the Womanizer? I shouldn't have done that. And she's going to be looking for some excuse to give her girlfriends or people who might find out that she had sex. She's going to look for some excuse. That's simply what's known as plausible deniability. See, I don't give women room for plausible deniability. Like when a woman has casual sex with me, in simple terms, she has to own up to it. I don't give a woman can't say, well, the only reason I slept with Alan Roger Currie was because he got me drunk. I don't get women drunk before I sleep with him. Or the only reason I slept with Alan Roger Currie was because he gave me some good weed or some good cocaine. I don't do drugs. Or the only reason I slept with Alan Roger Currie because he made me feel like he cared for me and that he was falling in love with me and that we were in a serious relationship. I don't bullshit women. When I want casual sex, I let women know straight up. That's all I want. I let women know I ain't looking to be your next long-term boyfriend. I ain't looking to be your future husband. I just want to feel my dick in your pussy. And I want to come in your mouth. That's it. I don't have no emotional feelings for you. Well, Alan Roger Currie, he lied to me. I thought he was single and he was really, he had a girlfriend. I don't cheat on my women. And I don't lie to women if I am in a relationship. And I could go right down the list, man. Everything a woman that I've known a woman to accuse other guys of doing, that basically comes down to tricking a woman into getting her in bed. See, no woman can ever accuse it. And that's why when I did that video calling out FTC, aka AMS, when those women called him out on that blog site, I basically said that would never happen with me. That would never happen with me. Because I don't bullshit women, man. I don't bullshit women, man. Like for the upteenth time, man, when I want casual sex with women, I straight up tell them that. I don't mince words. I don't beat around the bush. When my objective is solely and specifically short-term, non-monogamous, casual sex, I let women know that directly. I tell a woman, hey, the only reason I want to share your company is so I can fuck you. I ain't trying to go to the movies with you. I ain't trying to go on multiple dinner dates or lunch dates with you. I ain't trying to spend hours talking to you on the phone about trivial bullshit. I ain't trying to do none of that shit. I'm just trying to slide my dick in your pussy and make you come and have you make me come. And then we both in the session of sex with a smile on our face. That's how Alan Roger Currie roll. That's how Alan Roger Currie roll. So wrapping up, can you get women in bed being indirect? Yes, you can. Can you get women in bed being direct? Yes, you can. Both of them have you can say their upside and their downside. It's just a matter of, and that's why I did that video, I think last year, where I talked about risk and rewards. Risk and rewards. There's risk and rewards to every method. There's risk and rewards to every method. Like I've always said, there's 5 general ways of getting a woman in bed. There's 5 general ways of getting a woman in bed. And that would be attraction, persuasion and seduction, dishonesty and manipulation, financial negotiation, and coercion. The one out of those 5 that I would say that has the least risk involved, would be attraction. Attraction. Attraction is basically when you meet a woman and she immediately likes the way you look, she likes the way you verbally express yourself, she likes the overall manner in which you carry yourself, and just based on those 3 things, she just immediately decides that she wants to give you some pussy. She lets you, she basically lets you know that she finds you attractive and sexually appealing and she wants to give you some pussy. That's attraction. I can't think of any, major risk involved with attraction. So that's the one out of the 5 methods that's pretty much all reward, but very little, if any, risk. But all the other 4 methods, seduction, which is what I primarily promote, persuasion and seduction, that has a certain, at least a minor degree of risk involved. Dishonesty and manipulation definitely has some risk involved. Financial negotiation, the main risk involved with that is simply that you might end up spending more money than you really had to. And coercion has probably the most risk involved of the 5 methods. You could literally go to prison if you go with the coercion. Now, speaking of those 5 methods, I had a guy, and I already responded to him in the comment section, but I had a guy come in my last video, and he was basically like, Alan, I don't really see the difference between persuasion and seduction and manipulation. As far as I'm concerned, I'm paraphrasing his words, but essentially he was almost like, to me, it's like tomato. They're basically the same thing, but it's just different words. That's not true, and I pointed this out a number of times before. That is totally not true. And see, in his personal defense, though, that's what I remember in the early 2000s, for most of the 2000s, like between, roughly 2003, 2004, all the way up until 2014, 2015, there were a lot of conventional PUAs that would lead guys to believe that. That would lead guys to believe that manipulation is a form of seduction. That lying to women and misleading and manipulating women is a form of seduction. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. I vehemently disagree with that assertion. No, it's not. And here's the example I always give to highlight the difference. Let's say you met a woman named Linda, and you were interested in engaging in 1 or more episodes of short-term, non-monogamous, casual sex with Linda, but by the end of y'all first conversation, she let it be known that she's only interested in engaging in sex with you within the context of a long-term, emotionally profound, strictly monogamous boyfriend-girlfriend type relationship. Here would be the difference between persuasion and seduction and dishonesty and manipulation. Persuasion and seduction, which again is what I coach my clients to utilize, that would be if you used your conversation skills, and more specifically your verbal seduction skills and your erotic dirty talk skills, to get that woman so aroused thinking about engaging in sex with you that she gets to a point where she says, okay, I don't mind engaging in casual sex with you. I normally don't do the casual sex thing, but damn, because you got my pussy so wet, I don't really have a problem engaging in casual sex with you. So in other words, you persuade her to go from her initial stance and perspective to coming over to your side and seeing things from your perspective. That's persuasion and seduction. Dishonesty and manipulation would be in that same situation if once the woman Linda let you know that she was only willing to have sex with you within the context of a long-term, emotionally profound, strictly monogamous boyfriend-girlfriend type relationship, you were to say, you know what, Linda? That's what I'm interested in too. I'm actually looking for my next long-term girlfriend, just like you're looking for your next long-term boyfriend. So, hey, let's get to know each other and let's see if we can make this relationship work. And she buys your bullshit, and then you fuck her, and then you dump her. Pump and dump. That ain't seduction, man. That ain't seduction. Pump and dump is not seduction. It's not. It's not. I don't care what anybody on YouTube says. Any conventional PUA says. Pump and dump is not seduction. You're an idiot if you think it is. If you think persuasion and seduction is synonymous with dishonesty and manipulation, quote Alan Roger Currie right now, you're a fucking idiot. Give me your number, I'll tell you directly. You're an idiot. You're stupid. They're not the same thing. Mode 1, baby. It requires balls and backbone, but it's well worth it. Fuck indirect pump and dump.
Yes, sir.
Say it again.
Yes, sir.
Who's the king?
Alan, you're the king.
Say it again.
Alan, you're the king. You're dominating me.
Say it again.
Alan, you're dominating me right now. Mode 1.
Mode 1.
Daddy, can I go, please? You're the king.
Say it again.
Oh, you're the fucking king. Yes. Yes. Yes.
You're the king, Alan.
AKA the king of verbal seduction. You know, it's the tone of your voice, how seductive your intonations are, the vibrations that you could just reach out over the phone lines and stroke a woman's breast just by the sound of your voice, how you could make her pussy so wet just by the sound of your voice. That's actually very hot.
So you said my show was what?
I said your show is powerful.
Oh, say it again.
Your show is powerful.
I bet the king would fuck me really good.
Who's the king?
Alan Roger Currie.
Oh, yeah. Who's the king?
Alan Roger Currie. The king.
The king.
The king.
I have to agree with you on the communication piece, because I actually did take a session with Alan Roger Currie, and he gave me a line that I did not think was going to work, and it worked. And I was like, what the fuck?
Oh my God!
Man, he's the master. He's the master of the verbal seduction. He got that communication piece down pat.
It really worked. It just simply worked, and I just didn't think it was going to work at all.
Verbal seduction, man. I'm like, clearly, this guy's the Michael Jordan of seduction. Like, you know, come on now.